Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching, that's right, The Political Vigilante. Folks, support what we're doing. Go to Patreon. I started to post some bonus clips on there. In addition to, you get early access to the podcast. You get to watch all the live streams. There's good stuff over there. Go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood. We've been demonetized, so we appreciate your support. So big news the other day, AOC got arrested, supposedly, for protesting the Supreme Court. So it's obviously awful that the Supreme Court is to overturn Roe v. Wade. But this is, and I don't want to spend too much time on AOC. There's a lot of people who spend their whole channel talking about AOC, but I wanted to show you not only the theatrics of what this was about, but while everyone was talking about this, very staged sort of arrest, and she wasn't even really arrested or charged. They just said they moved her. You block the entrance. They moved her out of the way. A bunch of Democrats and mostly Republicans in Congress voted to expand NATO. Oh, great. Expand NATO, which continues to provoke Russia. I don't like Russia's invasion. I don't like what Putin is doing, but us expanding, and people have been, I've shown you videos from 2014. I'm going to show you an article from the 90s where people were like, it's not good we're expanding NATO. And since the 90s, we've been doing this. And we keep provoking Russia. So we've helped stir this pot. But I just like to show you, whenever there's a big thing in the news, I always ask myself, what happened? Remember when the May 3rd, the leak of the Roe v. Wade overturning memo happened? It hadn't been overturning, but the memo, that was the same day I showed you that Judge Allison Nathan reduced the amount of years Ghislaine Maxwell could potentially be charged on the same day. So there's always big distractions. So Joe Biden just got announced he's positive with COVID. I wonder what else is happening today. Like, there's always something going down. So you got to pay attention when there's a big distraction. Even if it's a valid story, there's always something else going on that they're deliberately not really talking about. So this is what happened. This is AOC. This is from yahoo.com. AOC and other lawmakers arrested for Supreme Court protest. They were arrested on Tuesday. She's got her hands behind her back. So I just want to show you this. And some people made a big deal out of this because she's not handcuffed there. And then she even raises her hand and she says on her Twitter feed the reason why she did that. We'll go into that in a second. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I just want to show you what. So this is her getting arrested. And then she raises her fist. So she's not handcuffed. she's not handcuffed, so she raises her fist. They just politely move her away. Now there's a band playing. Okay. So I just wanted to get rid of that real quick. I wanted to show you that. But I want to show you these other things. So she responded. Everyone was like, oh, she's faking. She's faking. And she said, no faking here. Putting your hands behind your back is best practice while detained, handcuffed or not, to avoid escalating charges like resisting arrest. And then I don't know who this Nancy Mace is. Oh, she's a House candidate. But you lied about a fellow rape survivor for points, as you put it to me. I don't expect much else from you. Okay. So this is okay. That's fair enough. Just put your hands behind your back. You're not faking getting handcuffed. But what else happened that day? Oh, look at this. House approves resolution supporting Finland, Sweden joining NATO. 18 Republicans voted no. 18 voted no. All the Democrats, every single Democrat voted yes for the expansion of NATO. And some of them even advocate, we need to put a no-fly zone. I always tell people, like liberals, I say, if we put a no-fly zone over Ukraine, you know what that means, right? If Russia flies over there, that means we have to shoot one of Russia's jets down. If we do that, what do you think Russia's going to do? So we've been provoking this for a long time. And so I found this is an article, an op-ed piece from a year ago, June 14, 2021. Sorry, liberals, but you really shouldn't love NATO. And it's a very good article. And sure, the person writing is more of a conservative, but NATO was put out there after World War II, for the height of the Cold War. So in 1991, when the Soviet Union collapsed, we didn't really need NATO anymore. But America's been using it to flex its muscles. We've been, and I've shown you maps of how we have bases surrounding Russia. Putin, there's an interview Putin did several months ago. I mean, he's been saying this for years, but he did this several months ago. They have not played it on any mainstream American outlet at all, where he said, can you imagine if I tried to put a base in Canada? Or if China was putting a base in Mexico, people would go nuts. He goes, I don't want bases on our border. I don't want missiles in Kiev that can reach Moscow in 2 minutes. And I can't say I blame the guy. I don't like what he's doing. I don't like the invasion or anything like that. But let's talk about what happened in 1998. In 98, 10 Democratic senators joined 9 Republicans in opposing the first fateful round of NATO enlargement, which would soon extend to the alliance to Russia's border. This was in 98. Putin got to power, I think, in 2000. Right? And when he got to power, one of the things he said was, I don't like this expansion. And this is from one of the senators that voted against this NATO expansion in 98. We do not have a divided Europe. And I worry about a NATO expansion which would redivide Europe and again poison relations with Russia. He said that in 98. So AOC wants to, there's 2 things to talk about here. I'm going to bring Ron Placone on the show. Get the host of Get Your News On with Ron Placone. So Ron,
hi, Graham.
Hello. There's 2 things to bring up here. First of all, before we get into your thoughts on, obviously, NATO just is more money. We've already sent $60 billion over there, while Americans can't even get free healthcare or we can't even get student debt forgiveness here. The overall, yes, we need to reinstate Roe v. Wade, but to watch AOC, and she's been a little critical of the Democratic Party, but not that much, to do this big theatrical, and she wasn't even arrested. They moved her, detained her, and released her without charges, right? Because they were blocking the street or whatever. The thing that's so frustrating about this is, of course, as we've discussed before on this show, is the Republicans have been very honest about wanting to overturn Roe v. Wade for 50 years. And, Obama could have codified it. He had 60 people in the Senate, didn't do it. Hillary Clinton picked Tim Kaine, an anti-abortion Democrat. Ruth Bader Ginsburg could have retired under Obama. She didn't. Obama could have gotten 2 actually liberal justices in there under his term. Didn't. Nancy Pelosi is still backing anti-abortion Democrats, as we speak. And
refused to even talk about expanding the court.
Yes.
Refused to even consider it. So yeah, I mean, there's a long list of things.
And so, okay, now AOC is going in the streets. Everyone wants to go in the streets. But once again, it's the Democratic Party talking big and then subverting behind closed doors. And they've, for 50 years, have been able to say, oh, they're coming for Roe v. Wade as a big donation tactic. And they did it the minute it happened. They're sending out all these emails. And so you got this AOC stuff. She's just...
Well, look, I mean, and I agree with you that it's like yesterday people talked about this nonstop on both sides. I mean, people who were just like, she was faking the handcuffs, and other people who were just like, no, she's a hero. And I kind of looked at both of them and kind of was like, this is very, very silly, because here's the thing. I don't think she was trying to pretend like she was in handcuffs, because she later waved to the crowd very deliberately. So if she was trying to pretend she was in handcuffs, she is the worst actress ever. So I don't think she was trying to do that. I think likely they were just like, put your hands behind your back. They either asked her to do it or she did it willingly because she was being, like escorted or whatever. I also don't really care that much. There was a whole cosplay thing element about it. They announced it ahead of time that they were going to go and do this action. So yeah, it was a total like, are the cameras on? Time for my action. You know why? Because they're elected officials. And of course, they're not going to actually get arrested. Here's the truth. whether like every member of Congress, whether they are part of the squad or a Republican or anything in between, they are among the most powerful people in the freaking world. When it comes and by the way, these are Ro Khanna's words, not mine. Ro Khanna, a member of Congress, said this. When you're a member of Congress, you are in the 1% of the 1% when it comes to power. So yes, the rules are different for you. That applies to everyone. And here's something too, as an aside on all this. And I know not everyone sees this the same way I do, but having been involved on a couple cause-based campaigns now, a campaign for net neutrality, a campaign for antitrust, a campaign for facial recognition, my whole view on electoralism in general, and in particular the squad, since that's what we're talking about, if they actually use the leverage they had, I'm not asking them to use more than they have. I'm not asking for something they can't do. But if they just did what they're supposed to do and did what they were elected to do, which is go against your own party when it's necessary, go against the system when it's necessary, and vote as a block. If they did that, I wouldn't care about any
Right.
of the surface stuff. I wouldn't give a shit. I wouldn't have the bandwidth to care at all. Would I find it annoying? Totally. So how would I handle that? I wouldn't follow any of them on Twitter. And guess what? I don't. So I wouldn't give a shit. If they were voting as a block, I'd be like, call Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear all freaking weekend if you want to. Have tea parties, do whatever. I don't care if you are voting the way you are supposed to vote. But they don't do that. There's always just enough present votes or just enough split votes
Right.
that horrible policy gets through. There's always just enough that it
Mm.
doesn't go our way. Always just enough. Isn't that
Oh,
interesting?
just
So
so close.
that's why the annoying stuff is that much more annoying. You know, I wouldn't give a shit about and I don't give a shit anyway that much, but I would give a shit even less if they were just doing what they were elected to do. I wouldn't give a shit about the other stuff if they were doing that, but they're not, and that's what makes it so frustrating. So, yeah, I didn't it's annoying. It's not really that important at all in the big scheme of things. And that's kind of my take on it. I'm just sort
But
of
it's
I mean,
hilarious to me, and you're so I so agree with you. Like it is just it's so hilarious that they literally went, we're voting to expand NATO, and then let's go outside for a fake arrest puppet show.
sure.
Just like they
Yeah, no, I get it. It's
it's
annoying at
it's
best.
they're voting. It's not only that they're not using their leverage, and in addition to they're not using their power that they have, like you say, they're also voting for horrible things. Like
Right.
the expansion of NATO is a bad thing. It puts us all on the brink of World War III, which will get us all killed. Like we will all die if this World War III happens. Like people need to understand we're on the brink. We're closer to World War III now than we were during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Okay. And we're also in the early stages of a civil war. And oh, by the way, like we just talked about, the climate's collapsing. It's record temperatures in the UK. And, I mean, the fires are already bad. We've got record droughts. I mean, it's like water lines are bursting because the soil is so dry and the pipes are so old because we don't spend money on infrastructure. We spend money on war, and they're voting for more war. The expansion of NATO is just more war. That's all it
Mhm.
means. Oh, great. Now we can put more bases in Sweden and whatever, Estonia, whatever, whoever just joined. And it's like, we don't need more bases. So we're going to build more bases in Sweden,
Mhm.
a country that's got a good way of life and a good economy and good healthcare. But while, I mean, how many tent cities were near where AOC was getting fake arrested? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
No,
like
I
all
get
this,
you.
it's
I hear you, dude. And here's the thing with NATO. We are, like we're in the West and we are the United States, the most propagandized nation on earth, especially when it comes to war. And NATO, it sounds good on paper, right? The idea of a bunch of countries getting together and they're going to cooperate, they have each other's back, and it sounds good on paper. But then you lift the veil and you see what they actually do. Well, what do they actually do? Well, they intimidate different countries, Russia being one of them. They provoked Putin for 8 years plus, and now look what happened. Doesn't make Putin right. He's definitely in the wrong too, but there's no good guys here. NATO's not the good guy, folks. They're a bad guy too. So that's what this stuff really, really does. but no one's going to go to the mat for that in electorate. No one's going to go to the mat for that. First of all, because there's a lot of money at stake here. And second of all, because again, you're in the most war propagandized nation on earth. So no one's going to stick their neck out for that. And I mean, even I'm pretty certain Rand Paul, which I agree on with Rand Paul on most, like next to nothing. I disagree with him most of the time. But when it comes to interventionism, well, he's basically been a non-interventionist most of the time. Even he voted present on this. Even he was kind of like, because it's like you don't want to go against those things. People are scared to do it politically. So, I'm not surprised at all. But that's what's really going on. We are a war propagandized nation. This is a thing that sounds good when you describe it. It ain't good the way they execute it. And why ain't it good? Because the United States is the freaking world's bully. But no one's going to go to the mat there. Nobody's going to go to the mat there.
No. They'll do these performative acts, excuse me, of getting arrested or voting no on some bill or something like that, just to say it. But like you say, Rand Paul will vote no on interventionism, but I'm okay with NATO expansion. He quietly voted, you know what I mean? He quietly voted yes on this. And excuse me, that's like you say, because, and look, the defense industry, I've shown this before, and anybody doesn't believe me, go to opensecrets.org, go to Defense Industry Donations 2020 election, and you'll see they gave $49 million to all of the candidates, Senate, House, and the presidents. And, they gave $800,000 to Bernie Sanders. They gave $2.7 million to Trump's campaign. They gave $3.1 million to Biden. So we were having big war was happening. It's like when I hear the Trump defenders say, oh, he didn't start any new wars. Well, he kept the old ones going, and he dropped more bombs than Obama, which I didn't think was possible because Obama dropped more bombs than Bush. Like that was amazing. So just
the whole idea that Trump was a non-interventionist is quite humorous. I mean, he didn't start any new wars. Okay, that's great. That's largely because of the pandemic. He was itching for one with Iran, and that was going to be his war. But then the pandemic happened. So and he was called presidential when he dropped bombs on Syria
by liberals liberal Democrats in the media.
That was when they applauded him.
And and then also, oh, by the way, Israel just bombed Syria today. So that's anybody getting arrested in the streets for that? Nope. Well, no, we're okay with that. Oh, okay. Gee, I wonder where Israel got their weaponry to bomb Syria. Anyway, we'll just
probably Amazon.
Well, we just had Prime Day, so they probably got it on Prime Day, right? I mean,
free shipping, Speaking of which, not to change topics very suddenly here, but that guy just bought a healthcare provider, Jeff Bezos.
Well, that'll be good for all of us.
Right?
Yeah, that'll be
setting himself up for emperor.
God. Well, he flies his dick rocket around the planet, bald-headed little weasel that he is. Folks, hit the like button, like, share, subscribe, support our channel. You'll see we've been demonetized. There's a way to support us at Patreon. I'm putting new bonus content on Patreon. You get a lot of great content on Rockfin as well. There's Venmo. And then come see Ron and I live this week. We're going to the Pacific Northwest. Ron, tell them where we're going.
July 28th, we'll be in Portland, Oregon. July 29th, Seattle, Washington. July 30th, Vancouver, British Columbia. Can't wait to see you Northwest. That's Graham and myself. Go to ronplacone.com or grahamelwood.com for tickets. Don't wait. Get them now.
Get them now. And I just released, I know it's a ways off, October 26th, I am taping my comedy special at the Zanies in downtown Chicago. So that's available at grahamelwood.com as well. Come out, City of Chicago. It's my first big comedy special. I've done albums. I did a concert video when I performed in Afghanistan called Live from Afghanistan. But so this is my first special in a long time, and I'm excited to do it. And it's all very, very both parties are bullshit. So you'll see it. You'll come see it. All right, Ron Placone, thank you so much for taking time out, buddy, to join our program. And we will see you soon.
See you soon, man.
So long, everybody. Shave your knuckles for justice, ladies and gentlemen.